Everybody, Vince Dowd, the founder of hijackedmind.com. And I attempted this earlier, but didn't show up. So technologically, uh, I guess my tongue's against the window on the bus. But I'm going to do it again, and I can slow down now because I have multiple things going. When I see trades happening, I try to go live very quickly to grab the momentum. And unfortunately, technology is more advanced than I am. So I'm going to share this with you guys real quick. This is Bitcoin. I'm going to give you a real quick analysis of this. I'll make it a quick video. Um, let's look at the weekly chart of Bitcoin. One thing that I did when I started looking at Bitcoin is I looked at the levels of support and resistance and the long-term trend. So I want to show you briefly here. This is the major high right here that we had back in 2013 when it hit just over $1,000. And then, of course, it went down after that for quite a while. It created this cupping formation, which took a long time. This is one of the strongest bases in the entire charting patterns, which is called basically a cup formation with a handle. Now, this one's a very long, wide type cup formation. So, you could say there's a series of cups within it. But I'm looking at the rounded bottom and the potential here that we saw. So that was really the breakout area. Then what I did is I took the actual trend line and I wanted to see what the long-term trend was. So I took the very bottom here and I took it across those lows. And this is kind of the long-term trend at that point, all right? Now we could go back further in time and draw some trend lines, but I just wanted to look more recently from 2015, which is about 2 years, kind of see where it should be going. And if you noticed, it was hitting along this trend line quite often. You can see it a little closer here. It hit and then bounce, hit here and then bounce. And so I'm not exactly on the line, but you can get the gist of it. It's basically long term, it should be basically right about here based on the previous trend, somewhere around 5,900. But then it started going parabolic, and you can see right here it went parabolic, came down with that 20% move, shot up, another move down, quickly bought, shot up, consolidated, now it shot up again. So we have to change our trend line to become more of a, actually there's a lot of trend lines. So that's two touches right there. So you can see how much more aggressive this trend was becoming, and the volume increased as well, showing tremendous volume. MACD, this is the moving average convergence divergence, accelerated. So this is really, really a strong pattern. I'm going to take another trend line as well because it just keeps changing. Again, the key is to get the number of touches. Now this is the weekly chart. I guess I should go down to a daily chart, make it much easier. I'm going to take this off. We're going to go down to a daily chart. So what I do is on the weekly chart, I'll draw the long-term trend line. So each one of these bars is a week of time. So I draw the weekly. In fact, I'm going to take this one off too. But this is really the long-term trend line right here. The 50-period moving average you can see is accelerated upwards. If we go down to a daily chart, we can see here's our long-term trend line right there. So you can see how far away it is from that long-term trend line. This red line is that cup pattern that we looked at, the resistance. So once it broke through there was no psychological resistance above it, so everything was blue sky. So once it really took off here, that was pretty powerful. But looking at this, we would want to draw some trend lines based on the daily chart. And that's only 2 touches there, so I will adjust my trend lines. That goes back to March of 2017. I'm going to bring this up to this point. These are the major lows. When you see it drip down like this, here a very big drop, it comes down here. Here it's a very big drop, and then it comes down here as well. But notice it becomes more accelerated. So this was more like a 45-degree angle. Now we're going a much steeper angle. So I'm going to take another trend line and just take it off right here. And that's really the shortest term trend line we have right now. Okay, so we can see there's multiple trend lines, and the acceleration and the parabolic move is getting more steep, which is, again, something that goes up that quick comes down very quickly. So what I was trying to say earlier was when this was dropping, I was on this bar because we just opened a new bar. is that we were dropping quite fast from sideways to two big down days. And this came all the way down to about 1500, 1503, sorry, 15,300. And I was talking about it's probably a good buy opportunity off this trend line. And it typically is bought pretty big when we see it come off these trend lines and people buy in. I was looking at actually the percent move down. So I took it here from this point and I took it right down to that bottom of that candlestick. 22.47% move down in the last couple days. And what's interesting is when we see these 20-some% moves, that's a bearish market consideration. I'm going to clone this. I'm going to move it to the last time it did this. So this was the last sell-off right here from the top of those bars. And move it up a little bit to catch that tail. That was a 23% drop. What was that, about a week ago? It came down, and notice they bought right off this 9-period moving average. The purple line here is the 9-period moving average, so you can see the Bitcoin has been riding very closely against that 9-period moving average. And again, this is the Bitcoin to the dollar. And we could also go down here and look at this one and see if that was about a 20% pullback here that happened in November as well. So let's look at that. So I'm going to go from the high of this bar down to the low, and you have a 28% move down. So we can see that when Bitcoin shoots up, it usually will come down 20 to 30% very quickly. It doesn't take long. Typically the stocks, when they do that, they can take a while, and then it takes a while to get back up. But because Bitcoin has a very limited number of coins and more demand, it comes down for 4 days and it's bought quickly off the 50. The red line is the 50-period moving average. That is your long-term moving average. Your purple line is the short-term moving average. And if you draw trend lines like I did here, you can use those as well. But the moving averages act as dynamic trend lines. So looking at this, we can see it's bought very quickly. And after it goes down, typically it runs pretty aggressively after a 20 to 30% move down. You can see it moves right back up. And then it moves sideways on this for many, many days. Then it explodes higher again. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of these so you can see a little bit clearer. Let me get rid of them here. I think if we don't congest the graph, it makes it easier for you to see. So right now, we're sitting here, and we just bounced off this trend line. You can see the new bar right here created. It's a little doji right now, not a lot going on. It was 16,600. So it's bounced quite a bit. If people bought it off this line and sold it right now, they've made quite a bit of money from, around 15.4. They made about $1,000 if they traded this in the last, short time here since I was on here earlier about an hour and a half ago. So that's a nice move. And you can see it's starting to move up. Now, what I was saying is if we break to the downside, the south side of this trend line right here, if we break to the south side of that, we're going to have some troubles because it will move back down. I'm going to show you here. So right here, this is the south side of this trend line. If we break through here and it closes below this trend line, then odds are it's coming right down to this 50-period moving average. And that would be the next support level. Okay, and that's healthy. You can see it's come there multiple times in its history. But right now, what's still playing with this short-term aggressive trend that started at the beginning of November, and it's holding. We have a higher high and higher lows, and then a higher high and higher lows here. But we can see that it's really creating, it potentially could create a head and shoulders pattern. We'll see what happens. But this is one to watch, guys. If it breaks this trend line, starts to go down, this is the first level of support. And then after that, we go down further. Now, I will show you that it was bouncing also off of some support it had a couple days ago, which are these dojis right here. If I draw a straight line across it, you'll notice that. So here's the lows of those right there, and you can see what it did. These were the 3 days where, after it moved up, it kind of went sideways, but it had a lot of movement. It bounced off this area and buyers came in. That was right off this 9-period moving average. So when it blew out and did a new high, it rested again, and then the people that bought up here, got hit here if they sold. But what it is, it came right back down to that same area of support, and it was bought right there. And that just coincides with the trend line as well. So there's two reasons to buy it there: old support and trend line support. Okay. So this is the critical mark right here. I would say this red line where it crosses the black line is really critical that we stay above this. We got to stay north of the red line, north of the black line. But if it goes sideways this way and rests, that's okay because it needs some rest. But when we start to break down, then it would be probably heading down here to the 50. If it breaks through that, we're heading back down to the long-term moving average, or the longer term, I should say. This one here, and the very long one, I think is lower. Yes, there it is right there. So here's the real long-term moving average down here. So it has multiple layers it has to work through to hit those lower levels, but I want you to be aware of that because you can set an alarm, with TradingView, which is really nice. I just go right up here and I can set the alarm. So if I wanted to set this to be, alert me if this breaks the low of today, right? Let's say I put it right here at about 15,155. I can just go up here and go, let's put this at 15,155, and then I'll put a note at the bottom here that says Bitcoin dropping support. And then I can plug that in, and now I'll be alerted that that's happening. And I can do that on my on some of the exchanges as well, but this is something that I use for charting right here. You can see the MACD's crossed down, the volume accelerated. So as we sold off here, there's a lot of selling into that move, which means there's more sellers coming in than were buyers before that, which is typically a very positive sign on a bigger move down. It's not telling you they want to buy it typically, okay? But when you see it bounce off the bar, that's pretty good because it didn't close at the lows. So it's really critical to see this next bar. Is it going to close higher? And if it breaks the high of this one, that's really good news for us. If it stays on the inside, then we got to watch for the next bar to see what it's going to do, all right? So right now it's in a critical phase. I know people are buying it here, definitely looking to buy it, and I think long-term we're fine. I would like to see it come down. I think it would be very healthy for this to come down in this area and give us a breather for a while so that it can regain momentum for the next leg up. Going up consistently is just not healthy, okay? So anyway, I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe. I will continue to work on the technology so I don't put out videos that you can't see. And any comments or questions, please put them below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks a lot.